Hello and welcome everyone to the new GSG Talk, the place where you get to hang out with your fellow streams and I get to poke you. Poke. Today with me I have two, I don't want to get anyone jealous, but I have two of maybe some of my favorite streams ever. Mr. New Future Fantasy and Mr. Scruffy Fox. How are you guys? These are
not bad.
Yeah, poker. I'm a poker.
Brilliant.
I'll be poking.
I'm up for it.
I'll be poking folks during the whole show, if you don't mind. Toogie.
Make it look like that's your finger coming through my screen.
Yes, teamwork makes the dream work. Yes.
How far is it? There you go, yeah.
Beautiful. How are you guys? How's your Sunday?
It's good. We've got a lovely summer here, which is unusual. So it's lovely to enjoy the heat before it goes.
23 degrees where I am at the moment.
Yeah, same here. So it's all going to finish soon. So here in the UK, we really make the most of the summer.
Because you have a small summer, right?
Yeah, we don't get much. It's usually cold and damp and grey in England.
How much summer are we talking about? A month?
Maybe 6 weeks.
Yeah, a few weeks.
Yeah, a few weeks. It's really nice when it's here. It's really summer in England is beautiful. It's just perfect.
Nice is one way of putting it.
Well, only for a short time, and except the days it rains as well.
Oh, that's the worst because it's hot and wet and humid and muggy and awful.
Yeah.
You guys are in very different locations. Do you want to semi-dox yourself?
Not that far.
Not that far.
Do you want to
not far? No, we're both in the south of England. Although Scruffy's on the coast, and I'm a bit further north in the big city in London, one of the biggest cities in the world.
Oh, you're in London. I didn't know that. I thought you were. Oh, that explains a lot. I don't know why you have.
Bang in the middle of London.
Yeah, you have
It's not that great. It's only a tiny little flat in a place called Shepherd's Bush, which is where The Who come from. You know the band The Who?
Yes.
They come from here.
The guys that scream and break their guitars.
Yeah.
They have other things going on, but I really like that they. Yeah, Solid BPM.
That's what they're most known for.
Yeah, right.
Well, they did make some seminal music too.
Pinball Wizard, right? The movie.
Yeah,
Pinball Wizard.
And what was that one? Tommy, that was brilliant, wasn't it? What an album that was.
Guys, there's so much to talk about because I really know both of your work and I have a ton of questions. I'm going to try to order them up in my head, and I want to remind the folks that if they have anything to ask, if they have anything, I'm even using my British band t-shirts. Check this out. I didn't plan for this. Gorillaz. Yes. This is all pre-produced.
I used to live next door to him, to David Alban.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
See, it's full circle. This is all. This is a good. This is
he was a bit aloof. I said hello to him a couple of times, but he was like, you know.
Oh,
It's true. In Notting Hill Gate, I used to live next door to him.
Is that because of him as a person, or just because it's London? That's just how people are in London, isn't it?
Well, he was probably famous, and he was probably sick of people.
True. Yeah.
You know, and
Sick of people saying hello to him.
yeah, and you know,
I'm not
I
famous.
wasn't that starstruck. Really.
I'm not famous, and I am already sick of people, so I can understand him.
Yeah.
I was sick of people before I was even famous.
Yes, we already have questions. Okay, we don't usually do this, but let's start with people's questions. Actually, Sparky wants to know, how old were you when you started making music, and what was the first instrument you learned to play? Because both of you are multi-instrumentalists. Well, New Future Fantasy grabs a lot of things during their stream, and Scruffy has a bunch of different knobs in there, so you can both be called... and I think I saw you with a guitar sometime, Scruffy. Please correct me if I'm wrong. Yes, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so how old were you when you started making music, and what was the first instrument you learned to play? Let's do this. Let's start by New Fu with the questions, and then let's go to the Scruffy.
That's a good question. When I was about 8 years old at the school, they, for one afternoon a week, they said, we're going to do these clubs. And there was a chess club, sports club, sewing, cooking. And one of them was the guitar club. And they said, you can choose which one you go. And I thought, oh, guitar sounds good. So I went to this guitar club, and they lent us a guitar and taught us guitar. That's where I started when I was about 8 years old. And immediately I was playing and singing. The teacher said, you've got to sing at the same time. So immediately I was playing sort of finger style nylon string guitar and singing very simple songs. That's where I started, basically, and started making music there, and just went on from there. So that was a really good start. And then started learning Elvis and Beatles songs, and just went on from there to where I am now.
Brilliant.
That's that, yeah.
Brilliant. I'm going to take I was telling the guys on the backstage, I'm going to take advantage of this. I'm going to try my British accent, because I'm from Argentina. I don't have an English accent. I can do whatever. It's not cultural appropriation. What are you talking about? Scruffy, what's the... Don't laugh at me. How old were you, and what's your instrument of choice?
This is a really easy question, because I was 4 years old and I asked my parents that I wanted to learn guitar, and that's how I started. That's literally it. I just said to my parents, I want to learn guitar, and they're like, okay, and they helped me learn guitar by getting me private lessons.
Did you have someone? Did you saw someone with a guitar and you said, "That's cool, I want to do that," or how did that idea?
I can't really remember, to be honest. I can't really remember. My family are quite into a lot of different kinds of music. Although they're not musicians themselves, I'm the only person in my family that's actually interested in making music. But my parents were very into like listening to different music, so I had a big sort of exposure to different kinds of music. And I think one of the styles of music was grunge. I don't know if it was that young that I was listening to it, because obviously it was like 30 odd years ago. But yeah, that was a big influence, and I was like, I really want to learn guitar. And then yeah, they got me lessons, and I had that tutor for about I don't know, 25 odd years.
Wow.
But he unfortunately passed away a few years ago.
I'm sorry about that. You both are, correct me if I'm wrong, but I have been seeing your streams for quite a while, and I think that you're both fans of textures in music. Like when I hear both New Futures Fantasy and your music, Scruffy, I hear that when you're developing your jam, every time there comes a place where it goes, everything is a texture. Is this something that you have thought about it? Am I just interpreting something wrong? Is this a goal? How do you feel about this textures in music?
With me, it's more necessity being the mother of invention, because when you're live streaming, you're looping because before I used to compose pieces with lots of changes, and the emphasis was on sort of classic composition. But when I started streaming, and especially doing looping and improvising, basically you're dealing with blocks of music, and the only option you really got is textures, because you can't really do that many changes in loops. If you start to put in too many changes, it just gets so overwhelmingly complicated as well. Everything falls apart. Even with just one or two changes, it's still very complicated. So just as a matter of keeping the music interesting and just out of necessity, I just developed this sort of textural approach to creating music while I'm and it can sound really good when you get it right. It's like all live performances, it's touch and go. It can sometimes go wrong, but if you get it right, everything layers on, and then the whole becomes more than the sum of its parts, and it can just sound really good. So just basically, in short, out of necessity, that's why I developed the textural approach.
All right, but just to that point, you're using your Ableton Push. You could go from one piece A to piece B if you wanted.
Yes, I could, but it does get very complicated, and also I like to sort of do things quickly to keep the interest, to keep my interest and also the interest of the audience, which I think if you're doing it right, it should be totally aligned. I like to do a quick 5-minute loop, then a song, then a loop, then a song. So everything's got this buzzy, upbeat energy. And so when I'm doing the loops for 5 minutes, I find one change or even zero change just on one chord is enough. And if I start to put in too many chords, it does get just too complicated. It ends up like some super chess problem, and it gets too intellectual, and I start to lose track of where the changes and chords are, and I just sort of keep it simple. And even keeping it simple, I find it's enough. Yeah. Although other people do all kinds of things, and I'm not saying that what they're doing is wrong and I'm right. I'm just saying that's just what works for me. But really, I've just kind of built it up out of necessity. There's been no overall plan. I've just basically made it up as I've gone along, basically, and ended up here.
All right. How about you, Scruffy Fox?
I think Nufu summed it up pretty well, actually. I feel the same. When you're doing live looping, it gets very easy to become overwhelmed with what you're creating. And yeah, the Ableton Push is great because you can do scenes and stuff like that. But if you're thinking about music in a traditional sense of like you've got like the verse and the bridge and the chorus, and you're trying to build that live, it gets really difficult to keep track of things that you've already recorded, things that might work or might not work, especially with my style of music. Well, not my ambient, my improv style of music, where I'm using new sounds all the time. They don't necessarily all work together, or you're changing key and certain clips don't work together. So you lose track of what will work and what doesn't. So my technique is to just forget about it and just add and keep sort of like moving and progressing along. But to go back to your original question about textures, textures are really interesting because they're fundamentally not musical. If you think about like a field recording of, I don't know, some birds or some chatter in a shop or something, that's fundamentally not musical, but you can incorporate it in a musical way, which I find really interesting, and it just adds that interest to an otherwise sort of mundane piece of music, as with my ambient, for example, where it's just a drone and some synths and stuff like that. It just adds, I don't know, a little bit more, just more interest. There's a song by a producer that I listen to called John Gerd, and that's where I actually got the idea from, because he released an album called Phoenix, and in one of his songs he has an ambient, I think it was a tea room or something, like a marketplace or something like that, in the song, and it sounds so interesting, and the song sounds so interesting with this piece of ambience going on in the background, even though it's just like a composed piece of music. So yeah,
can we have a link?
It's interesting.
Can we have?
I will drop the link. Yeah, I'll find it and drop the link.
You can drop the link or drop the name and let me. If you're gonna drop the link, yes. All right. This I think we're opening a nice line of questioning, because if you listen to both your musics, I think one can argue that the line that separates music from noise, probably more in Scruffy's, because he does a lot of droning, but also Yufu gets a little bit into this when you have your visualizations and such. Where do you draw the line between what's musical and what's noise? Is there a line? Should there be a line? Doesn't matter. Should I move on to another question? What do you guys think about this?
Oh, if it sounds right, it is right. That's my view.
All right.
In my performances, I tend to follow. I try not to force it. I just follow where my mood goes and also where the mood of the stream goes. And sometimes I'll end up being all sentimental and just playing little acoustic ballads, and other times I'll just do some wild kind of Psycho Hendrix noise thing, hitting dissonances and atonal stuff, really wild out there stuff, and the full gamut of things in between. And it's more kind of following and picking up on the energy that's in myself and in the stream and what viewers are putting in, and just kind of following that and trying not to force it, or at least force the direction, but trying just to dig in and put my energy into where the music wants to go. And it goes to all kinds of places, as I said. So where's the line? There isn't one. I think limits, there's no need for limits in pure art. I think there's no need for limits. And where there are limits, there's always going to be some innovator comes along and overcomes those limits. A classic example is distortion on the guitar, which was considered undesirable. Mm-hmm. And then now if you look at rock or Hendrix, it's just the distortion on the guitar is a major feature. So that's just one example. So yeah.
All right.
That's.
Do you have an opinion on this, Scruffy?
Yeah, I do. That's the beauty of music, isn't it? Is that it's completely subjective. There's loads of people on Twitch that stream like literal noise.
Yes.
It's not something that I particularly enjoy, but there are people that enjoy it. It's the same with the ambient.
They even had Noise Monday, I think.
Yeah. I mean, or even my ambient. It's funny. I was streaming on Friday and I had someone come into my YouTube and their comment was, "I do not like this music." And I was like, okay,
all right.
Thanks, good to know. But no, it's true, isn't it? It's completely subjective. So yeah, it's difficult to draw a line. It's easy to say something like, I don't know, you listen to some field recordings to say, well, that's not musical, but you can make it musical. So it is very blurry, the line of what is and isn't musical, because anything has the potential to be musical.
You both have been streaming for a long time. Have you had encounters with random haters? Because you both come across like people that could really deal with those situations. So has it happened to you?
Not really. People coming in and saying they hate my music. No, not that. I've had some personal encounters, but that's completely different. Some bad personal experiences on Twitch.
In real life, you mean?
No, on Twitch, I've had bad personal experiences.
Oh.
But not people hating my music. People come in and just leave straight away and think, oh, they obviously don't like it. But no, not really, no.
Mm-hmm.
In real life, I remember once I did a gig and this guy was just psyching me out, sort of saying, no, no. And I was younger then, and I sort of took it. Whereas now I'm old and more confident, I'd probably just put the guitar down and go over and thump him. Or something. No, probably not thump him, but I'd probably go up and confront him and because I've got a roaring temper. But at the end of the day, people are entitled to their opinion. If someone doesn't like my music or your music, it's just, as Scruffy says, it's totally subjective, and they're totally entitled to it. Like I've met people that don't like music that I worship. Like I've met people that don't like Stevie Wonder, for instance, or they don't like Mozart, and you think, well, they're entitled to that opinion.
Yeah, there are some people that don't like pizza.
Who?
Pizza.
Peep Show.
No, pizza.
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 Oh, pizza. I don't like pizza.
You don't. We're gonna end the show right now.
I'm one of them.
Controversial. You're gonna get cancelled.
Yeah. Just don't like it.
What do you mean? You don't like cheese?
No, I've never eaten cheese. I don't like it.
What?
I know, it's mad. My brother used to eat loads of it. Oh, it used to stink. Brother, because he's a glutton. He eats loads, and he'd sit there eating it right next to me. It should drive me mad. It smells horrible.
That's fair, because I'm not a big cheese eater either. but I do love pizza. So
what have I?
Yeah.
Everybody loves pizza except me. I don't care.
No.
I don't care.
We're just gonna move on, because this.
Believe that one.
Yeah. This is too much of emotional bargain in my end. Have you encountered some haters, Scruffy, around this?
No, not particularly. Like what Nufi said, only like the odd comment. People who they just have to give their opinion. Like most people, if they don't like something, they'll just leave the stream, which is fair. That's what you're supposed to do. But like every now and then, you'll get the odd person that's like, "Oh, I don't like this," or "This could be better," or something, and you're just like, okay. Like literally, like, yeah, I'm at that age again where I just don't care about other people's opinions.
Fair enough. We're gonna move into a new part of the show. This is a part where we share a part of your stream on silence, by the way, so we can speak over it, and we chat about what we see. Let's start with you, Newfu. Let's go to the share screen. There we go. Check this out. Fancy new part of the show. So, Newfu, let's ask some questions. First question, 4 hours, 17 minutes on this stream. Is this something you usually do? You play for 4 hours?
That's quite a long one. Yeah. That is a particularly long one. What happens sometimes is I want to finish, but then loads of people come in. People that I know, friends and that, and some people might come in and buy subs or give me some bits, or there might just be people that I like or know, and I just feel that I've got a duty to sort of carry on and give them something back because they've come in. And also, you can be tired, but then if you keep going, the sort of energy goes funny, and you get this sort of second burst of energy. But that is long. Usually after 3.5 hours, I've had enough.
I think boxers talk about this, the second wind. Have you heard this expression?
Yes, exactly.
See?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And what do What do we have going on here? We have your instruments. How many guitars do you have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5?
Oh, I've got loads. There's loads more in this room.
Oh,
about 20 guitars I've got.
20 guitars?
Yeah.
Oh my! What's your strangest guitar?
None of them are that strange, really. Really, rather conventional. But if Strats.
If you have 20, then some of them have to have some weird thing, or what makes them different? You know what I mean?
I've got 2 Strats tuned differently.
Okay.
Because sometimes I use the conventional tuning, and sometimes I use straight fourths: E flat, A flat, D flat, G flat, B and E. So the low 4 strings are down a semitone. And then I've got 3 heavy metal guitars with humbuckers that I use. There's a couple of basses. There's a fretless bass, nylon string, a 12 string, steel string, another steel string tuned in fourths, mandolin, spare nylon string that I just use when I go traveling, and that's it. I think, I don't know, there's probably a few others dotted around. Oh yeah, there's a sort of hollow body electric somewhere. That's in the case.
Do you have one that's this one? This is the Joe Satriani guitar, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're a fan.
I love that one. I love that one.
You're a fan of Joe Satriani?
It's because it's physically quite small, the guitar. It really feels nice to play. And the pickups are not bad as well. They're nice. It's to be honest, I as long as the guitar is well set up, I can get on with pretty much any guitar, any sort of guitar, as long as it's a quality instrument and well set up. It's just a matter of getting used to it, you know. It's just like cars, you know, you can get into any modern maker car, and you can sort of drive it and it's all right. It's the same with guitars. I like that guitar. That's a really expensive Yamaha, top of the range Yamaha classical guitar. I do like that.
Seal Pop wants to know what determines if you're red, blue, or green when you stream.
Just nothing really. Just I'd sort of try and change everything and keep variation and just try and keep things different, really. So one day I'll go blue, one day I'll go green. Just trying to change everything. Anything but this. Anything but blunt reality. Yeah, because it's fantasy, isn't it? The whole thing is a fantasy.
It's a fantasy, right? It's a new future fantasy. Yes, I almost forgot.
Behind it, you know, if you met me in real life, think, oh, he's a bit boring, you know, just some boring sort of guy shuffling down the street, you know, not that special, really. Whereas the whole idea here is to create a fantasy for me and for everyone else, because you know, different people have different theories on art, and some people like realism in art and all that, and that's fine. I'm not knocking that, but for me, I want fantasy in art, because if I want realism, I can just go out the door and go down at the shops and get on the bus, and it's all out there. Realism, it's there. I don't want that. I want fantasy. I want escapism. I want magic. And we know it's not real, but just for a few hours, a few minutes, this just escape and go into a magical world. That's what I want in art generally.
All right, yeah, that sounds okay. That makes sense. And also, before we move to Scruffy's stream, there's a part of your stream where you just this happened here when you just salute people. I think this is close to.
Oh,
here.
yeah. I just copied it off of that ZZ Top video. You know that ZZ Top video? What one is it? When he goes like that. Legs. It's called Legs.
No, but
do you remember?
What I mean is that there's always a part of the stream when you go bye-bye and this happens.
Oh, yeah. That's when I click the... I just go down to grab the mouse and I turn on the visualizer.
Well, what do you use as a visualizer?
It's called synesthesia.
Ah, yes, I've heard about this.
Yes. Yeah, it costs a bit of money, but I think it's pretty good. Well, I've never used another one, but I just asked some questions on a forum or something, and they recommended this one, so I went out and bought it, and that's it, really.
Is this a monthly subscription, or is this just one-time payment?
No, just a one-off payment. And then I've just got the default thing, and then what you do is you get it going, and there's random buttons where they just randomly change the settings. So I just keep pressing them, and it changes the settings, and sometimes you get bad settings, but then you just keep pressing it until you get something really good like that.
All right.
And that's that, really.
All right. Thank you very much. And you also have the push. You use the
push. Yeah, push 2. There it is. Yeah, fantastic bit of kit. Really good. Really like it. Not only setting up all the what they called the scenes and the blocks of music, but adjusting things like I always use a lot of auto filters and adjusting the frequency and the magnitude of the filters, adjusting things like the noise gate on the backing vocals, so that when I do the harmonies, you haven't got those big breaths. You just adjust that just right, so it takes out the breaths, but then doesn't take out things like S's and F's and things like that. All kinds of adjustments like that. I'm always doing on the push. Really good, really good. It's what it's designed for. It's designed for live sort of stuff and to sort of do it on the fly. Great bit of kit, really.
All right. Did you learn by yourself? Do you went to classes or?
No, I learn everything by myself, except the singing classes I have to go to but I only go to them once every month. I go to a top London vocal teacher because I used to get a problem with sore throat. So he's taught me how to avoid that. But everything else, the guitar, the push, everything, I just basically just set it up and play around with it and work it out as I go along.
All right.
Yeah. That's the way. That's my way.
Before we move into Scruffy's stream, I want to remind you that you can help us make this show. You can help us on the production of the show if you go to https GSG.live/donate. You can help us make this show go along. Let me yes. /donate you, because you know, as you know, making this show creates a lot of work and there's a lot of time-consuming activities, but you can help us make it go along. Whatever you donate goes to the GSG and to this show if you do it today, or to GSG in general if you do it any other day. Okay, let's move on to Scruffy Fox's stream. So Scruffy, we have a lot of buttons, which is good, which is a good thing when you're on the GSG streaming show, because the GSG folks likes the buttons. Can you explain what these buttons do?
Oh, I love buttons. Buttons and knobs. They're the best.
Thank you very much for that tip, by the way, Scruffy. Very much appreciated.
That's all right. There's a lot going on. I'll try and blitz through it. So the top rack, we have my synth. So this is made up of my Neutron on the left. Then we have a Behringer mixer, Dope filter, power supply, the Squarp Rample, which is a sampler, and then the K2, Behringer K2.
Wait. What are you describing this on the top?
The top synth, yeah.
Oh,
so
okay.
yeah, so that rack is made up of those synths.
What's the K2?
So the K2 is a MS-20 clone.
What's the MS-20?
The Korg MS-20. It's just a synthesizer from the 70s, I think. But the cool thing about the K2 is that it's Euro rack mountable, which the MS-20 isn't. And it's also like so much cheaper. So yeah, I use the Neutron for my low drones sort of sound. And I use the K2 for like my sort of mid swells. It gives a really nice sound, and you can overdrive it really hard. Especially I run it through my Dope filter, put a ton of res in it, and you get some really nice sounds. But for the buttons and stuff, so on the bottom, I can't point on the screen, but the two launch pads. So the first launch pad is set up for session view in Ableton, so that shows a bunch of different clips that are playing, and on those clips have different automation settings, and they randomly trigger. So when one clip finishes, it will randomly trigger another clip. And then the second launch pad is currently displaying the MIDI notes that are being played to any synth in the live set.
And you are randomizing this on the...
Yes, so underneath that we have the Oxy one, which is a sequencer. My favorite piece of gear, if you're looking for a good sequencer, definitely check out the Oxy one, because it's fantastic. But that powers in my ambient project, that powers everything. So all of the MIDI information that gets generated comes from the Oxy one. There's 4 different sequences that you can program in. The one that's currently showing is called Matricel, and that's actually a sequencer that has 4 sub-sequencers. So I can control 4 different instruments on that one sequencer slot. But the cool thing about that sequencer is that you can parameterize each, or you can sequence each different parameter of a MIDI note. So like the note length, the octave, the note that's being played, the interval, the velocity, and then you can change how many steps are in that sequence for the parameter. So that allows you to basically create like some kind of semi-generative MIDI output, which is really, really, really cool. So yeah, that controls pretty much everything. I've got a couple of CV outs that go into my two synths up there that control different filters and stuff like that. And then we've got the push, like Nufu said. The push is great. I use that to interface with Ableton, so I don't have to use my keyboard and mouse. It is a fantastic piece of gear. It has its limitations.
You're using push 2 also?
Yes, push 2. Yeah. I couldn't justify upgrading to the push 3 because I've got the push 2. If I didn't have the push 2, I probably would have got the push 3. But yeah, the push is great. It has its limitations, but it does like 99% of what I need it to. So it's pretty good.
Would you say that there's a lot of difference between push 1 and push 2? Because I've noticed that pushes 1 are very cheap compared to the other two models.
I've never used the push one. I've seen it, but I've never used one. I would say yes, because I think the push one has more of like it's not a dot matrix, but it's kind of like those old school departure board style screens. Like the alarm clock style screens, whereas the push 2 is a rich LCD screen. Apart from that, I don't know what the other differences are, so I couldn't say. But that would be pretty big for me anyway, to have a proper rich screen. And then on the right side we have my Roland Juno, so that's just a boutique small version of the Juno synth. That's a really nice synth, really, really nice synth. And then we have in between the MIDI mix and the push, that is a Fader Fox PC4. So that is a 24 potentiometer knob MIDI controller. And that controls all my filters for the different tracks, and it's all color coded. So the red track, the orange track, the yellow track, green track, blue track, purple track, it's all color coded. And then the MIDI mix controls EQs and levels for each of the tracks, and that's pretty much it.
All right.
Wow.
It's a lot. The good thing about having this kind of gear is that I can repurpose it for different projects. So this is the gear that I used to use, or I still do, but not so much these days, for my improv streams. So the electronic live improv streams. But with the ambient streams, it is, you just reprogram it to do what else I need it to. I mean, the Fader Fox is always filters, because that's just what I've always used it for. But the MIDI mix, so currently it does all EQs for the different tracks, but in my improv streams, it controls levels for the drums. So it's like a dedicated sort of mixer for drums.
Chavo is making a joke, but I think there's some thought into it. He asks, where are the keys? So
the keyboard.
Yeah, but there's something to be asked about that. So you don't actually play when you play? And he has left the interview. He has gotten offended by the question. Oh no, he's coming back.
There's the keys. So my desk here, you can see, that's gone through many iterations. The last iteration, I had an under desk drawer for the keyboard, which I built, and it was great, but it wasn't fit for purpose anymore. So I rebuilt my desk, and I don't have the space for it anymore. So instead, I usually have it behind me here, but I moved it out of the way the other day, and I haven't streamed since, so I haven't moved it back. But yeah, when I do an improv, the keyboard comes out, but it's just there instead.
So it's not all generated all the time. You are live playing.
The ambient is always, mostly. I sometimes bust my guitar out and I'll improv over the ambient, but for my normal electronic improvs, that's the main piece of gear, because this particular keyboard is a Complete Control S61, I think, or whatever, which came with the Native Instruments Complete Control software, and with that I have like 30,000 different patches of synths and stuff like that. So that's where I get most of my sounds from for my improvs. So I'll go through and I'll find an interesting sound and then load it up and just play along. But yeah, I definitely feel a lot more comfortable with a keyboard layout than playing on the push, for example.
Yeah, you can use the push as a keyboard if you want.
Yeah.
if you set it up, I have it set up chromatically, so it's like a bass guitar. It's in fourths, so you can play it with the same shapes that you use on a guitar or a bass guitar.
All right.
If you wish, I do that occasionally. I've seen on YouTube. I've seen people playing keyboard on the push, and really intricate, absolutely brilliant. I don't know if you've seen any of those videos. Just like a concert pianist, you can do that if you wish.
Neon Boyd does something like that, right? He just sits in front of the thing and he goes.
He does it all on push, yeah.
Yeah, he does it all on push. That was my big inspiration to get the push when I saw what Neon Void was doing. I thought that is impressive. I want one of them.
Yeah,
because
same.
I was just using a floor looper, which I still use, which is integrated into it. But when I saw Neon Void, I thought I must have one of them. And you the same, yeah?
Yeah, literally the same.
Literally the same.
Because
also by
so Neon Void and me, we started streaming around about the same time. And yeah, I watching his streams, I was like, the push looks really good, and I was. My local music shop had an X display push on, and it was quite a little bit cheaper than the standard price. So I was like, fuck it, I'm gonna go out and buy it. So I went out and bought it, and yeah.
Because it's really impressive the way he builds the sound up on it. I thought very impressive, and visually you could see what he was doing as well. So
yeah, he does it. He uses it really well. I don't use the push nearly as well as he does.
No, I don't think any of us do.
No, but I guess that's what you get if you constrain yourself to that one piece of equipment, like day in, day out.
He's just decided to specialize on that one thing, and he's got the results he deserves. He's got fantastic results, but he's really specialized on that one thing. Whereas I think we all sort of do other things. You know, like I've got all my guitars, and I'm just not going to abandon my guitars and singing. Yeah. So. But that's it. Jack of all trades, master of none. He's just concentrated. It's a great example what he's set. Just concentrating on that one thing, and he's become a master of it.
We are trying to get Neon on the show. We have been trying for a while, but he refuses because he doesn't want to talk in camera. But if you guys want Neon on the show, go to his stream and bully the hell out of him, because this has come up more than once. And I have had talks with him, and he kind of likes the idea, but we're trying to. I told him he could use the text-to-speech thing, maybe. I don't know.
He needs to get voice mod. Right. That's what he needs, voice mod. Yeah,
something.
I remember his early streams when he had his mic.
Oh.
He doesn't use them anymore, but early on, he had his mic and he used to use it.
Neon is kind of untouchable, isn't he? Kind of, he's kind of above the rest of us. We're just mortals, and he's
a boy.
He's a bit different to the rest of us.
Yes. But he has been an inspiration for a lot of people. He has come up.
Definitely.
His name has come up. I want to remember everyone that if they want to throw some questions in the chat, they are more than welcome. There's a comment by Sparky that caught my attention. He says, Scruffy has a number of amazing written and video guides of his hardware and Ableton setup. It's seriously useful material, and I learned a ton about how to make music from them. Can you comment on this, Scruffy?
Yes, that is true. I have so my streaming, without sounding like a twat, my streaming journey has been a journey, and as with any journey, I like to document my journey, because the things that I learn on how to do certain things come from other people who also put their stuff out on the internet on how to do things for free.
You're also a coder. This is a coder thing.
Yeah, by trade, yeah. I don't know if that's relevant necessarily, but I guess it kind of is, because a lot of the stuff that I learn for my job comes from people who put like tutorials out online or example code out online. So it's always good to, if you learn something, to put that out, because it might be useful for someone else, and it's nice to know that it has been useful for people, even though it's probably not very well written. It's more of just like a mind dump of, this is how my stuff works. If there's something useful in there, then great. But yeah, I've got a blog that I update every 6 months or so with what my stream is at that particular moment in time because it changes so often. And last year I did a video on my setup in a bit more detail, my Ableton project in a bit more detail, and how it all works, how it all links up, and what my gear does and stuff.
Can we have a link to that?
Sure.
Wait, I have to permit you. Don't just drop it, Scruffy. There we go. You will not get timeout, so you can say bitch, fuck, cock.
I would never.
Penis.
Actually, I would.
Vagina.
Actually, I never swear on stream. I do in real life.
You can do
on stream.
You can do it right now
I never
if you
swear.
want. You can do it right now.
No.
Do you want to say cock?
No. In real life, I swear to myself and to other people if appropriate.
Well, okay.
But on stream, it's just one of my little quirks.
No, that's okay. This is a platform made for younger audiences, so making younger audiences appropriate content makes sense, you know.
We've got to set an example to the kids.
Yes.
Absolutely.
To those,
Absolutely.
those the kids that vote the far right and that go kick hobos as a hobby, as I've seen in the news, we have to make an example for those kids.
They should give all that up and buy guitars and synthesizers and live like they should copy the way we live.
Yes, learn.
Look what it's done to us.
If someone wants to clip that, I think advices for younger audiences.
Look where it's got us.
Yes. Yes,
we're happy, aren't we?
That's
laughing and smiling, isn't it? See,
there's something that you mentioned in UFO but we talked about it in the pre-talk, that you're learning a very specific technique of singing. Can you?
Oh yes.
Can you speak about this a little bit?
It's called speech level singing. If you look on the internet, it's all over the internet. It was developed by a man called Seth Riggs, an American man. An absolute genius, and if you look at his client list, it is incredibly impressive. Stevie Wonder, Prince, Michael Jackson, all kinds of Julio Iglesias, Barbara Streisand. It just goes on and on like that. Yeah, incredibly impressive list of his clients, and he's developed this technique that he taught, and I can't study with him because he's in the USA and he's pretty old now. But I study with one of his students who learned this technique off him, and I don't fully understand it myself. But if you listen to Stevie Wonder's the greatest example, who I in my opinion is the most accomplished singer I've ever heard, you can hear this technique in action. And it's a fantastic thing.
What's the basic concept on this?
The concept is, see, I don't fully understand it myself. I've had lessons for about a year, but it's helped me a great deal. The concept is speech level singing is the larynx stays in the level that it's at when you're speaking, like you can hear now, like you can hear on all of us. Mm-hmm. You don't. So what happens when people strain, they use the swallowing muscles in the throat and they strain, especially for the high notes, and the larynx starts to raise and it just doesn't sound good at all. So this is a technique where you can go right up to the high notes without strain, with the larynx still staying low. It's very, very clever technique, and that's it basically. And as I say, because Stevie Wonder is my favourite singer, that's what attracted me to the technique. And the guy who invented it, he used to go on tour with Michael Jackson. Michael Jackson would pay this teacher, Seth Riggs, a huge retainer, and he would go on tour. So Michael Jackson could maintain that super high voice night after night on tour because, speech level singing, it's all over the internet. Fantastic thing.
That's nice. Yeah. That sounds nice.
It is. It's really good. Apparently, it's based on the old bel canto technique, which is the old Italian technique, the old Italian operatic technique. But this guy Seth Riggs has revised it for a modern application,
because we were talking about in the pre-talk that if you don't, contrary to maybe learning the guitar or learning the keys with singing, if you don't do it right, you can hurt yourself, right?
Oh, I have. I've lost my voice. I used to get a sore throat, and you can feel the strain. And then when you're singing, you can feel the strain, and you can hear the notes not sounding quite right. And then you get anxious about that, and then it goes in a spiral, and it just spirals down. So there are some great self-taught singers, like, you know, many of the singers I admire, like Paul McCartney or Jim Morrison, just two examples, or someone like Marvin Gaye. But then, you know, he learned in church at an early age. He used to sing in church. But when I heard that Stevie Wonder had been studying with this singing teacher and learning this technique, because the reason Stevie Wonder went to this singing teacher, because when he was a child prodigy, and then when he was about 17 or 18, he strained his voice so much that he had to have an operation to scrape. You get cysts on the vocal cords, so he had to have an operation where they scrape the cysts off, and then after that you have to let the voice. You have to stop singing for a while and let the voice heal, and then after that he went to this singing teacher to retrain his voice so he wouldn't have this problem again. And he's been with this singing teacher ever since, to, I believe, marvellous results, because you hear the stuff he did in the 70s. His singing is just impeccable, absolutely impeccable, through a broad range. He's got everything, power, technique, the whole lot, and loads of emotion. So I was having problems, so I thought I'd study this technique. And I suppose it's up to other people to judge how well it's working for me, but it feels really good, and I can go a long time singing, a good 4 hours, sometimes even longer, with quite constant singing, and there's zero strain in the throat, zero strain. Although the body gets tired, you just get tired overall, but zero strain. So that in itself is really good thing to know, how to do that.
What's your Stevie Wonder favorite record?
Oh, the ones in the early and mid 70s, Songs in the Key of Life, I think is a marvelous,
that's a classic.
Marvelous accomplishment.
That's a double album, right?
Yeah. The Talking Book, that was the first one that he self-produced. And there he's fresh from these singing lessons, and you can hear what he's doing with the voice. But the whole thing, Talking Book, is a marvelous accomplishment. And Inner Visions, those are my three favourites. But if I had to choose one, I'd choose Songs in the Key of Life. That is, it's like a Mozartian talent, I feel.
Can you drop can you drop that in chat so folks can go check them out? Just the names of the
Songs in the Key of, I haven't got the chat up actually. Songs in the Key of Life.
Of Life, yeah, that's one. Yeah.
Songs in the Key of Life by Stevie Wonder. It's all over the internet. It really is the most accomplished thing, in my opinion. Like what you're saying, some people might not like it. Actually, my mum doesn't like it. She says, I don't like that stuff, she goes. And she's got a really good ear for music, but she just doesn't like it. So there you go. It's always one.
How do you guys feel? This is a very controversial question I'm about to ask. You both being British, how do you feel about the Beatles?
The Beatles?
Yes, because this question...
I adore them.
I know this is kind of a stupid question, but sometimes I get funny answers out of this.
I adore the
Scruffy
Beatles.
is
I
laughing,
love them.
So I think there's something coming.
What do you got to say, Scruffy?
The Beatles are overrated.
Oh!
That's what my mum says.
Listen, they are very influential, and I'm not putting them down as musicians because they have influenced music massively. However, I do think that they are overrated. I enjoy their music. I've got their albums on vinyl, but I do think that they're overrated. I think people put them too high up on a pedestal. But like they're still amazing musicians, and they've done amazing things for music. But yeah, I think they're just a bit overrated.
They did invented the cult personality on musicians. I don't know if that's a good thing, right?
I think they were in the right time at the right place as well. I do think Paul McCartney has a really great talent for hearing chords and melodies and creating inventive, catchy melodies. It's a really marvellous natural talent he has, McCartney.
Yes.
I think.
Yes.
Because when you sing his songs, they just sit so well. They're so natural and so easy. That's my experience. But yeah, my mum says, they're overrated, the Beatles. They're not that.
I think we should have your mom on the show sometimes because she has all these edgy positions. That
Good luck with that.
Yeah.
But she has got a very sharp ear for music. Very sharp ear. I know she has. But there you go.
All right. If anyone has any questions for our guest, this is your last chance because we are about to finish the show and go to Chawo's stream, who is already online. So if you have any questions, just go ahead. And also, guys, Scruffy and Newfu, if you both have anything to plug, maybe an album, a link, a YouTube channel, an upcoming stream, do you have anything to share with the fellas, with the people in the chat?
Scruffy, you got anything?
Just my stream, I guess. Yeah. My camera's battery died. Oh, that's unfortunate.
Yeah.
Just in time as well.
Yeah, it's just in time. Yeah, that's okay. How about?
Yeah, my stream. There's my YouTube channel. If you go to my homepage on Twitch, there's a YouTube channel. That's it, really. I'm just making it up as I go along. There's no master plan. I suppose there should be, really, but
I don't know.
I'm just sort of bumbling my way through life.
That sounds about right. Okay, everyone. I want to thank my guests. This has been very fun. There are some things that I couldn't question, but we will have this. We will probably have them on the next season, and we will fulfill the rest of the questions. I want to thank my guests. I want to thank Newfu. I want to thank Scruffy, who is no longer... Oh, there he is.
There you go. I swapped out the battery.
There we go. And I want to thank you, lovely streams, for making this a reality every week. Next week, I think we have Better Units and Beowulf. As I recall, I don't really remember. I remember that we only have 20 episodes per season, so we are about to finish. So thank you very much. If you want to see any of the old episodes, you can go to, this GSG channel. We have it on archive, or to the Discord, or to the YouTube. So thank you very much, and have a good one. Bye-bye.
Cheers.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.